How's it going, everybody? Shinigami here to bring you another Acolyte review, episode 3. And like I've said before, we have written down plenty of notes. Now, unfortunately, can't really go one way or the other. It's all of it kind of intermingles for me with the lore and with the public perception and other things that have been said on social media and other interviews like that. So, unfortunately, I can't not be a little bit unbiased in that direction. And I know some of the Disney fans will already be like, oh, he's saying the same things all the other people say, it's woke or whatever, and this and that. It's like, I'll try and use a better word for it, but it's clearly not Star Wars. At least not for a lot of people. And the backlash has been astounding to see. For many reasons, more so because they just simply cannot. I had my girlfriend brought up to me while I was watching the third episode. I was watching Naruto, and she's like, "Oh look, so the kids are basically like Sasuke," especially when he's like, "I'm gonna kill you," and avenge my parents and other stuff like that. Even though May was the one, yeah, they did it so bad, and then just the way that May is portrayed as, obviously she's the one that's more akin to wanting to be a witch, but whatchamacallit, we'll get into it. This whole thing takes place 16 years in the past, and it could have been done within a 15 to 12 minute flashback, but they really had to hammer home some of these things. And the people trying to contrast this, saying that no, you guys are reaching and we should be learning more about the dark side and other bullcrap like that. It's just like, that's what some people were implying, like, oh, well, Palpatine studied this kind of stuff, and this is how we got to where we were, with him, basically being revived in a way for the rise of Skywalker. And it really does put into perspective that Disney has not given a shit about the lore, especially when it comes to Anakin being the chosen one. He was basically Jesus in a way for Star Wars, right? The mother had no father, Anakin had no father, and when Qui-Gon asked about it, it was just, what father? There is none. And that's why the whole prophecy of the chosen one. And some people also trying to retcon that, saying like, oh, well, that was a retcon from the original. Yeah, but it still came from George Lucas, so I don't see that as a retcon. Anything after him that's been from Disney, especially with all the High Republic and other stuff like that, it breaks lore completely. And the biggest thing is that George built a very conformed, very cohesive universe, galaxy, and stuff like that. And for these people to basically just, oh, androids can now be gay now, even though they're fucking androids. They don't have sexuality. It's not like they're plugging into each other to make another baby. That's not how that happens. So that already, yeah, it just doesn't make sense with the logic that they're trying to bring in. As I get into it, at the beginning you see May, you see Asha all on her own by a tree that, it's the only yellow tree like this. It looks kind of like a willow. And while she's sitting there by herself, she's being, just, I guess, meditating, and she sees these little butterfly, moth, bird things, and she tries to use the force on it, lets it go, but then her sister pops up out of nowhere and almost fucking strangles the little fucker. So it's just like, yeah, this bitch is psycho. And then again, the pacing, I would say already off the bat, is it's way too long, way too many drawn out scenes of them walking somewhere, showing the scenes of the mountain. They showed the mountain 3 to 4 times, and a lot of it just could be cut significantly to make room for a more cohesive story, I would say. But the way that these people brought it out just didn't make any sense. Very drawn out, very boring, lazy. Set design still as well doesn't really fit with Star Wars. The music doesn't sound like Star Wars. None of it really has that same feeling from George Lucas. And me pull this up. We get into whatchamacallit, Asha and May getting in trouble by their mother, Coral, and she basically tells them, you guys are gonna have some punishment because you keep breaking the rules and shit. But after that, once they get back to the coven, they meet up with their other mother, Mother Anastasia, and the two kids run off, and Mother Coral and Mother Anastasia both are conversating amongst themselves, and even Coral says, she mentions that a heavier hand is needed to helping raise Asha because, they keep testing them. And Mother Anastasia is just kind of like, that's just kids. They're always like that. But clearly, you can see early on, Asha doesn't really want to be there. She doesn't really feel fit in. She doesn't feel like she's fitting in with this. But it's kind of being forced onto her. The other thing is, Mother Anastasia is the lenient one when raising the twins and mentions how Asha will get them caught. Sorry, she says this, but Mother Coral was actually the one that says that they're going to get them caught and they need to have a firm hand in the discipline. Mother Anastasia at this point also says all living things are. Sorry, this was the next scene. Mother Anastasia is having like a little training session after she talked with Coral, and it's just the two kids and then some of the other mothers, but the other women in the coven. Basically, she's expressing how all living things are connected by the same thread. And then continues on, a thread woven through all of existence. Some call it the Force and claim to use it, but we know the thread is not a power you can wield. Pull the thread, change everything, stuff like that. And it's just, this is where it starts to really lose a lot of people, because we already had midichlorians. There was a bunch of the fan base that didn't like the midichlorian lore, but it still made a lot of sense in, like, midichlorians exist in living cells or live in the cells of living beings and stuff like that. To add this onto it, to basically say, well, Jedi and other people that have used the Force, it really wasn't the proper way to use it, but we, the women, know how to use it. Again, there's been other witches and other the Night Sisters and stuff like that have existed and have used the Force, but apparently they also were not using it properly, at least deemed by them. It continues. It ties you and your destiny. It binds you to others, basically repurposing Yoda's speech. And again, this is where you start to see the flaws of how they just don't understand George Lucas. Continuing on, she then says, she then uses the Force, which claimed wasn't to be wielded against, and she uses it as a demonstration against one of the other women. And then, so one of them couldn't handle Mother Anastasia, so and then another one comes in, the power of two, and then same dumb bullshit. It doesn't. She still can like hold it back. So it's just like, so are they supposed to use it or not supposed to use it? You're telling us that the Force, the thread, isn't supposed to be wielded, but only by you guys. And then obviously at this point you see Asha and May in the back starting to fight amongst each other, and then Anastasia just goes, "You'll never know when your enemy will attack by surprise," basically. And it's just like, yeah, they're fucking arguing. What do you expect? Again, confused on how the thread shouldn't be used yet. They keep using it. Does that mean the Jedi shouldn't use it? Is it only for the witches, the coven of witches? That's basically implied in this. Next, we got from then on, you got a little bit of a speech where it's basically implied. You know, the two of them are Asha and May are in the room at this time, and they're basically being told, "You guys are sisters. You guys are connected. You were connected since before you were born because of the thread." And even if, again, in real life example, let's say you don't like your brother, you don't like your sister, but your parents are forcing you to fucking make up, that might cause even more tension between your sibling, because different opinions, different activities, hobbies, likes, all that stuff. Yeah, they're being like, nope, you gotta love them no matter what. And as we've seen before, you don't have to love your family. You can have other people that actually love you and show you care and other things like that aren't your family, that aren't biological. Sorry, there you go. But clearly in this show, they're being like, nope, you guys are tied together by the thread. You guys cannot separate. And it's like, okay, what a weird thing to say. But anyways, we continue, and they become witches through the ascension. The feud continues. May wants to be a witch while Asha doesn't. And then now Mother Anastasia seemingly forcing Asha to be closer with her sister by holding hands, like I said. Anastasia also says that the thread tied you together before you were born. And she even says this fucking ridiculous line, the power of many instead of the power of one. It just seems like they're trying to make up a really cool inspirational quote that isn't really landing. And then the galaxy is not a place that welcomes women like us, witches who have the ability as we do. Again, multiple types of metaphors, and they're obviously trying to portray something for the real world, and then also trying to use it in this fantasy world. But it's just like, you can't have your cake and eat it too when you're trying to lecture people about, like, oh, they just don't like basically a trans allegory. They don't accept us because of who we are, even though there are plenty of other people that definitely accept trans people. They just don't want it forced onto kids, which is what it seemingly the allegory is in this, as you'll see. She says this, I want you to stay special. Does that imply that that if she goes with the Jedi, she won't be special anymore? Right? Even though with Anakin, he was special, and guess what? He stayed special until he fucking died. Why? Because he was the chosen one, and he had a higher ability, a better inclination for the Force than a lot of the other people that he was around. That's why he was used by Palpatine, because the prospect that Anakin showed early on to Palpatine was just like, ooh, this guy can get to a higher rank than me in the Force. Let's manipulate this. Let's make this go in our favor, basically. That's basically what the mother is insinuating, and again, very disgusting that she would tell her own daughter, you're only special if you stay with us, but as soon as you leave us, you're not special anymore. Like, way to go to be a fucking grade A parent, right? Next thing we see, May is upset Asha won't show her art book, so they're getting ready for the Ascension at this, like I said, and May seemingly gets upset because Asha likes to, draw in her little art book, whatever, something that they don't do that's similar. And so for May, this is infuriating because they're supposed to do everything the same. Same like, same interests, all that stuff. But her sister likes to draw and is keeping this from her, and she's getting upset by that. It's just like, that's kind of ridiculous. Whatchamacallit? Yeah. Asha won't show her art and claims that they share everything and that she shouldn't be hiding things from her, and that she also likes to run off alone. I wonder why, when you have such an antagonistic sister. May also says that they have everything here, but Asha doesn't want to be the same as her sister. She wants to know more of what's out there. Then we continue. I recently learned as well that the thread can be tied into like another fucking aspect of fantasy stuff, D&D. They basically call it the weave. So I just find it very ironic that they would change it to something that I thought was patriarchal, right? Women shouldn't be knitting and sewing or whatever, but you literally call your reinvention of the Force the thread. And then when they're doing their thing and pulling the thread, well, aren't they fucking knitting? Aren't they sewing? Like, oh, continue the patriarch, I guess, whatever. About the third time, I get, like I said, we get another shot of the mountain, just way too long fucking focusing on this goddamn mountain. Like, we get it. It's a nice establishing shot. You only have to do it once, though. But again, it's like they have to spoon feed you every single time. Look, we're still on the mountain. 10 minutes later, guess what? We're still on the mountain. Well, no shit. Where else are we gonna be on this fucking planet? That's the only thing that exists on this planet, from what we know. Then, this is the first ceremony. This is the first ceremony that they've had since their exile. They were hunted and persecuted, forced into hiding, all because some would consider our power dark, unnatural. Well, she says unnatural, but I'm putting in the dark part because that's clearly a tie into what Palpatine would say. Some would say, the dark side is a way into more unnatural forms of, yeah. It's basically tying in that same fucking notion of what Palpatine says. And they were on the brink of extinction, but then they were blessed with a miracle, the gift of life. And oh boy, let me just tell you, this is where it starts getting wild. I might have to I'll show the clip of the scene real quick. From here on out, they're starting the ascension. These women sound like hyenas cackling in the wind, and they're praising the twins as they walk towards them, going whatever. And they act like they're heavenly. It's just ridiculous. Oh, breathing on them heavily. Sorry, but same and same. What the thread has tied together, no one can separate, says Mother Anastasia. And then they start singing this fucking gibberish. The power of one, the power of two, the power of many. But, I don't do it as much justice, so here, you take a listen to this.
Power of one, the power of two, the power of many. The power of one, the power of two, the power of many.
Alright, so what if the Jedi find out about how they were created, and basically implying that this was not a good thing? The Coven wants them to fail after an old lady comes out after they've switched to a different scene where they're having a meeting. They go over the fact of like, hey, if they pass, they leave. If they fail, they get to stay. So it's decided we gotta have them fail. The witches are basically dark side users using unnatural forces, and then after that little scene of the little meeting that they've had, Asha, May, and them basically get told by Mother Anastasia that this isn't about power. This is about power and who is allowed to use it. Basically sounding very authoritarian, I would say, just on that whole premise. Doesn't really make sense. Especially if what we've been advertising of things, we're supposed to be very loving and accepting of all these things, but then, we're not going to allow just anybody to use the thread, the force, whatever. Asha gets, no. Anastasia tells Asha that she may want to be a Jedi, but that will change in the future when she gets older. She may not want that same thing, as I was saying. Second take for it, but it's basically a fucking thing about like homosexuality or trans and stuff like that. You may feel like it now, but you don't know, or even being straight, right? Like this whole insinuation of you may feel this way right now, but when you get older, it'll change. When we've definitely seen a lot of the people in Star Wars, they did not change their fucking path. There's only a handful of them that altered said path, light or dark, right? Continuing on, yeah, we have the part where they get to go to the ship, and they're obviously going to be tested. May goes first, and then after that is Asha. And the whole test that's being taken place, you see how Asha is already being subjected by the Jedi, sort of. They can sense her emotions and what she's feeling. She obviously feels conflicted about the whole thing, and she doesn't want to lie, so that's what the Jedi are able to sense. She's wanting to be honest. But while she's doing the test, the first one's an animal, and she guesses it's a spaceship, and they go, oh, correct. And then the second one is a spaceship, and she goes, it's a mountain, and they go, correct. And then she stumbles and goes, no, it was a spaceship. Gets caught lying. And, Soul has a heart-to-heart with her, being like, well, when I was younger, I knew I was special too, being, force sensitive and other things like that. And I took that chance to be able to level up in that category, I guess you could say. Basically, just trying to reassure her that it's okay, especially if you feel like you want to go down this path. You're not stuck to being a witch. You're not tied down to this set rules. Basically, from there, she goes, okay, I'll confront my mother about it. I'll tell them what I actually feel. Right? She's getting a little bit more confident. Then after that, she convenes with her mother Anastasia, and they do have a little of a heart-to-heart, but not after this. Mother Anastasia says to Asha, destiny is not decided for you by an anonymous force. Still trying to, slightly pull her back to the witches, but then during that conversation, Asha is being asked, like, is this really what you want to do? You'd be leaving us? And Asha just goes, yep, this is what I want to do. And so, surprisingly, Anastasia actually does comfort her daughter, hugs her, tells her, okay, I give you my blessing, I'll allow you to go. And while she goes to go pack up her things, then you have the other fucking crazy scene where May says, May confronts her sister Asha while she's packing her things and goes, you're not gonna leave, and I'll kill you. Then after that, she takes Asha's art book and then runs out of the room, locks her in there, and then grabs this candle that's on the side of the door, burns her book, Asha's book or whatever, and then boom, throws that shit on the floor. And then somehow this whole mountain and facility that they're in, where it's made of metal, concrete, and stone, catches fire. And within fucking seconds, it's able to get into the room that Asha's in. So Asha's trapped in there by herself, trying to get out. She starts yelling for her mom, and nothing. Obviously, at this point, I guess they're already dead. I don't know. But you would think if her mother was that force sensitive, thread sensitive, whatever, she would be able to sense that her daughter was in danger. But we don't know what happened. We don't know how that went about. And so after that point, Asha's able to escape through a ventilation system. Wires, messes with the wires, whatever. It opens it up. Boom. She's getting out just before the fire catches her. Oh, hold up. And then at this point, there's an explosion and all this other stuff, which again was ridiculous on how bad the fire was able to somehow engulf the whole mountain within a matter of 5 minutes. And when Asha's getting out of there, she stumbles across a few of the women that have perished. None of them have any burn marks, no bleeding, nothing like that. So it's kind of hard to tell really where they got this damage from, other than maybe May killing them, I guess. But we're not really too sure. And then we get to a point where there's a bridge. May's on the other side, Asha's on the other side. The middle breaks through some falling debris, and seemingly, they're going about each other. Why did you do this? Or why did you do this? Whatever. And like they go about it twice, 3 times, and it's just like not really the best line delivery and just exposition that's just given. Like, yeah, you're the one that started the fire. What are you doing? Then her sister May falls down the chasm, and then before Asha's able to fall through, she gets saved by Soul, who catches her in the nick of time. Just, again, very crazy how he was able to know where to find them and all this stuff like that. Then, after the whole fire incident, Soul comforts her and shows that there are people who care about her and, that she's wanted. After that scene, we see that May did survive. We get to this little tree that they were in the beginning of the episode, the yellow tree. May survives and mumbles Asha. So again, contradicting themselves in the other 2 episodes prior, where I can understand if Asha thought that they were, if her sister and family was dead, but May seemingly at that moment sensed that her sister was still alive. Like, she was force sensitive a little bit higher than Asha was. So that concept just doesn't really work, I would say. Then, whatchamacallit? Like I was saying earlier, they call the force the thread, which is already another reversioned. They're just changing up again what the force is. Redefining. There you go. That's the word I was thinking of. And again, apparently midichlorians wasn't good enough, even though that was already established by George. And it basically dumbs down everything that happened, or makes Anakin not special anymore. Because 100 years ago, we had two twins that were basically made the same way as he was. After that, $180 million is quite a bit for them to spend, double the amount of what they spent on Obi-Wan. And also, this could have been a 15-12 minute segment, like I said. And finally, the only last bit that makes sense for why the whole place burned down so fast. Quote from Monty Python basically says, "The place burned down because the witches were all made of wood." Yeah. They really know how to destroy a legacy and blame the people that cared about it so much, calling them toxic, misogynist, whatever, when, well, the lore that was held together is no longer there, and then the disrespect to pre-existing information we had, and just making, like Leslie Headland said, Kill Bill meets Frozen meets Fight Club, and all these other things that just doesn't make sense for Star Wars. Yes, it's space wizards that wield samurai fucking laser swords, but the way that the execution went about it did not land on their feet. But yeah, that's my episode 3 review for The Acolyte. So let me know if it damaged your faith even more, if you already thought it was dead or not, in the comments below. But yeah, other than that, it's Shinigami signing out. You have a good morning, good evening, and good night. And I'll catch you next time. Bye.